The signal from the void, the last hope of Earth. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the observation window of the starship Endeavour, her reflection ghostly against the infinite darkness of space. Earth was now 3 light-years behind them, a memory wrapped in the blue marble of home. The weight of 7 billion souls pressed against her shoulders like invisible chains. She had been chosen not because she was the bravest, but because she refused to accept defeat. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence had not been the joyous occasion scientists had dreamed of. Instead, it had been a warning, cold and mechanical, transmitted across the galaxy: abandon your expansion or face extinction. The galactic powers had drawn their lines, and Earth had crossed them simply by reaching for the stars. A crew of dreamers behind Sarah. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency. Lieutenant Marcus Webb worked at the navigation console, his fingers dancing across holographic displays with the precision of a concert pianist. He had been a musician before the war councils began, before humanity realized it stood alone against an indifferent universe. Now he composed trajectories instead of symphonies. Finding beauty in the mathematics of survival, Dr. Amara Okonkwo sat at the science station, her dark eyes scanning data streams that would have overwhelmed most minds. She had decoded the alien warning signal, spending sleepless months unraveling its meaning until the truth became undeniable. The galaxy was governed by ancient laws, and humanity was deemed too primitive, too dangerous to join the cosmic community. The Forbidden Zone, the Endeavour drifted toward a region of space, marked in the alien databases as the Forgotten Reach, a graveyard of dead civilizations that had dared to defy the galactic order. No living species ventured here anymore. The ruins of 1,000 worlds floated in the void, monuments to ambition and failure. But Sarah had studied those ruins through every telescope humanity possessed. She had seen something the aliens had missed, or perhaps chosen to ignore. Hidden among the debris fields and shattered planets was a pattern, mathematical signature that repeated across different systems. Someone had left a message in the destruction, and Sarah believed it was meant for species like humanity. The newcomers who refused to bow, the discovery Amara's voice cut through the silence like a knife. "Commander, I'm detecting an energy signature. It's artificial, definitely not natural radiation." The bridge came alive with sudden movement. Marcus adjusted their course, while Sarah moved to the science station, her heart hammering against her ribs. On the display, a sphere of golden light pulsed in the darkness, perfectly spherical and impossibly bright. It sat at the exact coordinates Sarah had calculated, hidden within a debris field that orbital mechanics said should not exist. The sphere was maintaining its position against the gravitational chaos around it, a feat that required technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. This was what she had been searching for, the reason she had risked everything. First contact. As the Endeavour approached, the sphere began to change. Its surface rippled like liquid gold, and symbols emerged from within. Flowing across its face in patterns that seemed to shift between mathematics and art, Amara gasped, her hands flying across her controls. "It's responding to our presence. The symbols, they're adapting to our language structure. It's learning from our computer systems." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. This was technology that thought, that understood. The sphere was not just a beacon, but a test, an intelligence waiting for someone brave enough or foolish enough to find it. The symbols resolved into words, human words, projected directly onto the bridge displays. "The choice you have found what others feared to seek." The message read, each word appearing with deliberate slowness: "Humanity stands at a crossroads. The galaxy believes you are children playing with fire, destined to burn yourselves and others. They seek to contain you, to limit your reach until you prove worthy by their ancient standards. But we who built this beacon knew a different truth. Progress demands courage. Evolution requires risk. We were punished for our defiance, erased from history as a warning. Yet our legacy remains for those bold enough to claim it." Sarah read the words again, feeling the weight of decision pressing down upon her. Marcus had gone pale, understanding the implications. Amara stared at the message with tears streaming down her face. The warning, the message continued, relentless in its clarity. "Within this sphere lies knowledge that will transform your species. technologies that will make you equals among the stars. But accepting this gift means declaring yourselves ready to stand without permission. To face the consequences of your own ambition, the galaxy will not forgive this transgression. They will come for you with weapons refined over millions of years. Choose now, children of Earth. Remain small and survive in obscurity. Or reach for greatness and fight for your right to exist. The bridge fell silent, except for the steady rhythm of life support systems. Sarah looked at her crew, seeing her own fear reflected in their eyes. But beneath that fear burned something stronger, something uniquely human. It was the same fire that had driven their ancestors from caves to cities. From Earth to the stars. The answer. Sarah straightened her shoulders and turned to face the golden sphere through the observation window. Her voice was steady, carrying the weight of humanity's choice. Open a channel to the sphere. All frequencies, Marcus complied, his hands shaking slightly. Sarah spoke clearly, knowing her words would be transmitted back to Earth, recorded for whatever future awaited them. We accept. The price of knowledge. The sphere awakens. The golden sphere exploded with light, brilliant and blinding, filling the observation window with radiance that seemed to pierce through metal and flesh alike. Sarah shielded her eyes, but refused to look away, watching as tendrils of energy reached across space toward the Endeavor like the fingers of an ancient god. The ship shuddered as the connection was made, and every system on board flickered between failure and unprecedented power. Amara's console erupted with data, centuries of compressed information flooding into their computers faster than any human mind could process. Marcus struggled to maintain control as the ship's engine suddenly surged with energy they had never been designed to handle. The sphere was not simply sharing knowledge, it was remaking them, transforming the Endeavor from a human vessel into something far greater. The transfer. Sarah felt it before she understood it. A presence touching the edges of her consciousness like whispered secrets in a forgotten language. The sphere was not merely transmitting data to their computers, but directly interfacing with their minds.
Downloading.
Understanding into their very neurons. She gasped as images flooded her awareness. Visions of technologies that bent space and time, weapons that could shatter planets, shields that could turn aside stars. But more than that, she saw the history of the species that had built this beacon. They had been called the Architects, a civilization that had risen from humble beginnings, just like humanity, driven by the same insatiable curiosity and refusal to accept limitations. They had challenged the galactic order and paid the ultimate price. Visions of the Pistomera collapsed forward onto her console, overwhelmed by the neural cascade. Sarah rushed to her side but found the scientist's eyes open and aware, tears streaming down her face as she witnessed wonders and horrors in equal measure. "I see them," Amara whispered, her voice filled with awe and grief. The Architects. They were beautiful, Sarah, not in appearance but in spirit. They believed that knowledge should be free, that every species deserved the chance to reach their full potential. The Galactic Council disagreed. They believed in order, in control, in keeping younger species contained until they deemed them ready. Through Amara's description, Sarah understood. The council that governed the galaxy was not evil, but it was afraid. Afraid of chaos, afraid of change, afraid of species like humanity and the Architects, who refused to wait for permission to grow. The council's Justice Marcus had steadied the ship, his musician's instincts helping him ride the waves of power surging through the Endeavor's systems. But his face was pale with the knowledge now burning in his mind. "They didn't just destroy the Architects," he said, his voice hollow. "They erased them from memory. Every planet they colonized was sterilized. Every station they built was vaporized. Every ship that carried their DNA was hunted down across 1,000 light years. The Council wanted to send a message that would echo through the millennia." The bridge fell silent as the weight of that truth settled over them. This was the fate that awaited humanity if they continued down this path. Not mere defeat, but absolute annihilation, the complete eradication of everything they had ever built or dreamed. The gift revealed, yet the knowledge kept flowing, relentless and transformative. Sarah felt her understanding of physics expanding. breaking through barriers that human science had considered fundamental laws. Space was not empty, but filled with layers of reality that could be accessed and manipulated. Time was not linear, but could be folded and traversed by those who understood its true nature. Energy existed in forms that humanity had never detected, sources of power that made fusion reactors look like campfires. The sphere was giving them everything, holding nothing back, trusting them with secrets that had cost the architects their existence. Sarah understood now why the Council feared such knowledge in young hands. With these technologies, humanity could become unstoppable or destroy themselves trying. The warning within, but embedded within the flood of knowledge, was something else. Something the architects had learned too late. Amara suddenly stood, her movements sharp and urgent, her eyes blazing with revelation. "Sarah, there's more." The architects didn't just fight the Council, they fractured. Some wanted to use their new technologies to wage war, to force the galaxy to accept them through strength. Others wanted to hide, to use their knowledge to escape to distant galaxies where the Council's reach could not find them. The division destroyed them before the Council's fleets even arrived. The lesson was clear and terrible. The knowledge itself was not enough. What mattered was what humanity chose to do with it. How they decided to face the impossible odds now arrayed against them. The fleet approach's alarms screamed across the bridge as Marcus's sensors detected. Multiple signatures emerging from faster-than-light travel. The Council's response had been instantaneous, triggered the moment Sarah accepted the sphere's gift. They had been waiting, watching, ready to execute the same sentence they had passed on the architects millennia ago. 12 warships, Marcus reported, his voice tight with fear. Configuration matches the database the sphere uploaded. These are Enforcer-class vessels, designed specifically for eliminating primitive species before they become threats. Through the observation window, Sarah watched as reality tore open in 12 places. Massive ships emerging from the wounds in space like metallic predators. Each vessel was the size of a city, bristling with weapons that humanity had no names for, powered by reactors that made stars look dim. The transformation complete, but the Endeavor was no longer the ship that had left. Earth 3 light-years ago, Sarah looked down at her hands and saw them glowing with soft golden light, the same radiance that pulsed from the sphere. She was changing. They all were enhanced by the technologies now integrated into their bodies at the molecular level. Her mind processed tactical data with superhuman speed, calculating trajectories and firing solutions that would have taken hours before. Marcus was already implementing evasive maneuvers that violated every law of physics Sarah had learned, the ship responding to his thoughts as much as his controls. Amara had accessed weapon systems that moments ago did not exist. The sphere's knowledge rewriting the Endeavor's very structure. The first shot the lead Enforcer ship fired without warning or negotiation. A lance of crimson energy that crossed the distance between them in microseconds. It should have vaporized the Endeavor instantly, reducing the ship and its crew to scattered atoms. Instead, shields that Sarah did not remember activating flared to life. Golden barriers that caught the blast and dispersed it harmlessly into space. The Council's weapons were ancient and refined, perfected over millions of years of conquest. But the architects had studied those weapons, had learned their weaknesses, and had built counters that still functioned after eons of waiting. Sarah felt a fierce joy rising in her chest, primal and defiant. They had a chance. The declaration Sarah opened a communication channel that broadcast across all frequencies, ensuring that every ship in the system and every listening post across the galaxy would hear her words. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of humanity's collective will. "We are the crew of the Endeavor, representatives of Earth and humanity. We have accepted the legacy of the architects, not to wage war against you, but to claim our right to exist as equals among the stars. We will not submit to extinction because you fear what we might become. We will not apologize for reaching toward our potential. If you wish to destroy us, then come. But know that we will fight for every star, every world, every breath. And we will make the galaxy remember that humanity refused to die quietly." The Enforcers responded with a coordinated barrage that turned space itself into fire. Asterisk the fire of defiance, the Battle Begins Space became a canvas of destruction as 12 Enforcer warships unleashed their fury upon the Endeavor. Crimson energy beams crossed the void like bloody brushstrokes, each one carrying enough power to crack a continent. Missiles that bent trajectories in impossible curves streaked toward the human vessel, their warheads filled with weaponized antimatter. But Marcus moved the ship like he had once moved his hands across piano keys, finding rhythm in the chaos, dancing between deadly harmonies of firepower that should have been impossible to evade. The Endeavor twisted through three-dimensional space in patterns that defied inertia, the architect technology allowing them to move in ways the Council's predictive systems could not calculate. Sarah watched through the tactical display as their single ship faced down an armada designed to eliminate civilizations, and she felt her crew's fear transform into something far more dangerous: humanity's. Ansaramra unleashed weapons that had been theoretical concepts mere minutes ago, now made real by the sphere's transformative gift. Golden lances of compressed space-time shot from the Endeavor's newly formed weapon arrays, striking the nearest Enforcer with precision that came from enhanced neural processing. The Council ship's shields flickered under the impact, ancient technology meeting its designed counter for the first time in millions of years. The Enforcer reeled, its hull breaching in 3 sections as atmosphere vented into space. Sarah felt no joy in the destruction, only grim determination. These ships had come to execute humanity without trial or mercy, to erase Earth from existence as they had erased the architects. Every shot fired was not aggression, but survival. The fundamental right of any species to defend its continued existence against those who would decree otherwise. The Council speaks a transmission cut through the battle's chaos, broadcast on frequencies that bypassed normal communication systems and spoke directly into the minds of the Endeavor's crew. The voice was ancient and cold, carrying the weight of eons and the absolute certainty of unquestioned authority. Humans, you have made the choice that dooms your species. The architects believed, as you do, that courage and ambition justified defiance of cosmic law. They were wrong, as you were wrong. We do not act from cruelty, but from necessity. The galaxy has survived for billions of years because we maintain order, because we prevent primitive species from wielding power they cannot responsibly control. Stand down and accept quick execution, or continue fighting and condemn your homeworld to the same fate that befell the architects. The threat was clear and terrible. Earth itself held hostage against humanity's defiance. Sarah's resolve, Sarah closed her eyes for a heartbeat. Seeing in her mind the blue marble of home, the cities and oceans and billions of lives she had sworn to protect, the Council expected her to surrender, to choose Earth's survival over her own pride. But she understood now what the architects had learned and what the Council feared most. "Open the channel," she commanded, her voice steady despite the ship shaking from another impact. When Marcus complied, Sarah spoke words that would either save humanity or seal its doom. "You claim to act from wisdom, but you act from fear. You speak of responsibility, but you deny species the chance to prove themselves worthy. The architects were not destroyed because they were dangerous, but because you could not control them. You offer us life as subjects or death as rebels, but we choose a third path. We choose to prove you wrong." The architect's final gift, the golden sphere, still connected to the Endeavor through tendrils of energy, began to pulse with increasing intensity. Amara gasped as new data flooded her consciousness, the sphere's ultimate secret finally revealed. "Sarah, the sphere isn't just a database or a weapons platform. It's a seed, a blueprint for rebuilding the architect's civilization. But more than that, it contains the coordinates for every other sphere they hit across the galaxy before their fall. Hundreds of them scattered among dead zones and forgotten systems, waiting for species brave enough to find them." The implications struck like lightning. The architects had not left one gift but many: insurance against their own extinction, and a tool for future species to resist the Council's absolute control. If humanity could survive long enough to share this knowledge, to awaken other young species to the possibilities the Council suppressed, they could change the galaxy forever. The turning point Marcus suddenly laughed, a sound of pure exhilaration that seemed insane amid the battle's fury. "They're hesitating," he called out. It's enhanced perception, reading micro-fluctuations in the Enforcer's attack patterns. The Council ships are holding back, not committing to full assault protocols. They're afraid we'll transmit the sphere's data before they can destroy us. Sarah saw it too. The careful precision of ships designed to contain rather than annihilate. The Council wanted the Endeavor destroyed, but they needed to ensure the sphere's secrets died with them. That hesitation was a weakness, a crack in the armor of their absolute certainty. Humanity had found leverage in the one thing the Council feared more than a single rebellious species: the possibility of widespread rebellion across countless worlds. Currently held in enforced infancy, the broadcast Amara worked with feverish intensity, her fingers and mind working in concert to compress the sphere's vast database into a transmission package that could be sent across the galaxy. The Council ships recognized the danger immediately, intensifying their assault with desperation replacing calculated precision. Energy beams carved through space in sheets rather than lances, attempting to overwhelm the Endeavor's defenses through sheer volume of fire. The ship's shields began to fail, golden barriers flickering as their power reserves depleted faster than the Architect technology could regenerate them. But Amara needed only seconds more, her countdown to transmission reaching its final moments. Sarah gripped her command chair as the ship lurched from a direct hit, alarms screaming across every system. But she kept her eyes on Amara's display, the message to the stars. The transmission launched at the speed of light multiplied by technologies that bent physical law, spreading outward in an expanding sphere of data that touched every listening post, every deep space probe, every curious mind scanning the heavens across 1,000 civilizations. The sphere's secrets, the Architect's legacy, the coordinates of hundreds of hidden beacons. All of it poured into the galaxy's collective consciousness in an unstoppable flood. On a million worlds held back by the Council's restrictions, scientists and dreamers received impossible knowledge. Young species learned they were not alone in their defiance, that others had fought this battle before and left tools for those who would come after. The galaxy's carefully maintained order shattered in a single moment of shared revelation. Sarah watched the transmissions progress on her failing displays and knew that regardless of what happened next, humanity had already won. The Council's retreat, the Enforcer ships suddenly ceased fire, their weapons falling silent as if controlled by a single shocked mind. Through the communication channel, that ancient voice spoke again. It's no longer cold and certain, but edged with something that might have been fear or perhaps grudging respect. "You have changed everything, humans. What took us millennia to build, you have destroyed in moments. The younger species will rise now, demanding the knowledge you have freely given. The galaxy will descend into chaos, wars fought with technologies they are not ready to wield. Billions may die because of what you have done today." Sarah felt the weight of that accusation but refused to bow beneath it. She responded with words that carried humanity's truth. "Or billions will finally live free, reaching their potential, without ancient powers deciding their fate. You chose control over freedom, order over growth. History will judge which path was right." The return. Home the Enforcer fleet departed, tearing holes in space to escape back to whatever Council strongholds awaited them. They left the Endeavor damaged but intact, the golden sphere still pulsing beside them like a captured star. Marcus plotted a course back toward Earth. The journey that would take months with conventional drives now possible in weeks with their enhanced systems. Amara cataloged the technologies they had gained, already imagining how they would transform human civilization. But Sarah stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars that now held both promise and threat. Across the galaxy, young species were awakening to possibilities the Council had suppressed. Some would use the knowledge wisely, others would destroy themselves trying. Wars would come, Sarah knew. Conflicts that would reshape the cosmic order. The dawn of a new era as the Endeavor turned toward home. Sarah composed the message she would send ahead to Earth, the words that would prepare humanity for what was coming. They had chosen defiance over submission, had accepted the Architect's gift, knowing the price it would demand. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity would stand at the center of the coming storm. But in her heart, Sarah felt no regret, only fierce pride in the choice they had made. Humanity had announced itself to the cosmos not as subjects begging for acceptance, but as equals demanding recognition. They would face the consequences together, armed with knowledge that had cost the architects everything and could cost humanity just as much. But they would face it free, unbowed, reaching always toward the stars with the same courage that had driven them from the beginning. The fire still burns. The Endeavor sailed through darkness toward the distant light of home, carrying in its hull the tools of transformation and in its crew the spirit that defined humanity. Behind them, the golden sphere dimmed and went dark, its purpose fulfilled, its gift delivered. Ahead lay Earth, waiting unknowing for the news that would change everything, that would thrust them into a galactic struggle they had not sought but would not flee. Sarah Chen, commander and pioneer, watched the stars and smiled. The Council had wanted humanity to remain small, to accept limits imposed by ancient fears. Instead, humanity had chosen to burn bright, to risk everything for the chance to stand among equals. Whatever came next, whether triumph or tragedy, humanity would face it with eyes open and hearts defiant. The fire that had carried them from caves to stars would carry them through whatever trials awaited. And that fire, Sarah knew, would never be extinguished.